All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. I am Casey with Nursepreneurs. Most of you, if you've ever joined any of our live streams or been in our communities, probably know my face. So I will get right to it. I am here with Nellie of CorpNet, and she is coming in to talk to us about beneficial owner information reporting. What does that even mean? The abbreviation is BOI. It's a new mandate as a federal mandate as of January 1st of this year, I believe. She's going to dive into the nitty gritty and what it means for you as a business owner, because it is something that sort of was put in place for the benefit of the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. So it's important for all business owners to know about it. You definitely don't want to get hit with fines because you just didn't know what you needed to do. So with that, I will let Nellie take the floor and introduce herself and go from there. I do want to say there will be time for questions at the end. So if you're here viewing, you can drop your questions into the comments along the way, but we'll try to just be efficient, move through the presentation and hit up any questions at the very end.
Thank you so much, Casey. Hi, everyone. My name is Nellie Akamp. I'm the founder and CEO of CorpNet.com. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here to present to all of you a little bit about CorpNet. We're a document filing service, and our mission at CorpNet is to provide the most comprehensive, cost-effective services to entrepreneurs and business professionals just like yourself when it comes to starting a business, maintaining a business, and keeping that business in compliance, especially when it comes to new federal mandates that come out on a yearly basis, especially like this new federal mandate that's come out in 2024 called the BOI, which also stands for the Beneficial Ownership Information Report for LLCs and corporations. For those of you who already know CorpNet, the account manager that handles all of the CorpNet filings on behalf of Nursepreneurs is Marissa Meller, and she's a dedicated account manager that you can reach out to at CorpNet, who would be at your service and to be able to assist you with any and all of your filings. You can also go directly to our website at www.corpnet.com or pick up the phone, dial 1-888-449-2638, or you can email Marissa at mmeller@corpnet.com, and all of that information will be presented to you at the end of this presentation. So moving on, a little bit about myself. I'm a veteran entrepreneur in the online legal document filing space. I've been in this space since 1997. In fact, my husband and I were the pioneers of the industry, where we started the industry back in 1997. We started with our first document filing company, grew that. It was acquired by a publicly traded company, and then we took some time off, focused on our then growing children, and decided we were too young, too passionate, and frankly too bored to take on early retirement. So we started CorpNet.com in 2009. CorpNet started as a very, very small business in our garage, and now has grown to have over 250 employees. And we are the nationwide leader when it comes to business filings, estate tax registrations, payroll tax registrations, and compliance services in all 50 states. You can see a lot of my content on a variety of different publications, including Forbes, Entrepreneur, Inc., and any of the CPA and small business communities such as allbusiness.com, Small Business Trends, and you can also follow me, of course, on Facebook, Instagram, and all the other social mediums that CorpNet and myself are a part of. I want to get to our agenda for today, which is really this new federal mandate that has come out and has been instituted by the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, which is the Beneficial Ownership Information Report that is now a new federal mandate as of January 1st, 2024, which what it does, it requires most legal entities, including domestic or foreign entities, to report its beneficial ownership information also abbreviated for BOI, to the FinCEN.gov Bureau. So in this presentation, my goal is to help you learn the ins and outs of the BOI filing to avoid compliance issues and penalties, or, God forbid, miss the filing deadline. So we'll review what a BOI report is and which types of entities have to submit the report, the 23 business exemption types listed within the FinCEN's reporting rules that do not have to file a BOI, the BOI filing due dates for both new and existing companies, details needed to properly complete and file a BOI, and how you can submit this BOI report. So let's talk about what the BOI report actually is. So FinCEN is a bureau of the U.S. Department of Treasury, and FinCEN's mission is to safeguard the financial system from illicit use and basically, money laundering, and also to promote national security through the collection, analysis, and basically dissemination of financial intelligence and strategic use of financial authorities. So FinCEN carries out its mission by receiving and maintaining financial transactions data, analyzing it, and making sure there is no sticky or stinky business going on. So it's another layer of protection that they're mandating to prevent people from forming corporations and LLCs for unlawful activities, in a nutshell. And as of January 1st, 2024, many companies in the United States have to report information about their beneficial owners, the individuals who ultimately own or control the company. Those are the beneficial owners. So companies required to report are called the reporting companies, and the reporting companies may have to obtain information from their beneficial owners, who basically are the individuals who ultimately own or control the company, and report that information to FinCEN. Now, who needs to file the beneficial ownership information report? So we have to first determine if the company is considered a reporting company. So you may be a reporting company and need to report information about the company's beneficial owners if your company is a domestic reporting company or a foreign reporting company. So let's break this down. What is a domestic reporting company? A domestic reporting company is a corporation, LLC, or any business entity created through filing a registration document with the Secretary of State's office or similar under the law of the state or an Indian tribe. Similarly, a foreign reporting company is a corporation or LLC or other entity formed under the law of a foreign country that filed a document with the Secretary of State or any similar office to register to do business within that state or a tribal jurisdiction. Additional reporting companies may also be LLCs and C corporation, including those with an S corporation status. So those also fall under the definition of a reporting company. Other entity types formed by filing registration documents with the state may also be considered reporting companies. But for the purposes of this presentation, if you're a corporation or an LLC, and if you're a corporation or an LLC with an S corporation status, you're likely going to be recognized as a reporting company that will probably have to file a beneficial ownership information report. Other examples of types of companies that may be required to file a beneficial ownership information report include limited partnerships, a limited liability partnership, a professional limited liability company, a professional corporation, or certain types of business trusts. Now, we've taken a graph, which is directly from the finsend.gov website that really kind of delineates whether you're considered a reporting company and whether that reporting company has to report information on the beneficial owners of that reporting company. So the first thing you have to determine is what type of a business is it? Is the company a corporation, or is it an LLC? And if the answer is yes, then it's likely that that's a domestic reporting company. Okay. Now, if that corporation or LLC also is registered to do business in any other state as a foreign corporation or LLC, they also may be considered a foreign reporting company and may also be required to file a beneficial ownership information report. Now, there are exemptions that exist. What do we mean by that? It means that there are certain corporations and LLCs that may be exempt from having to file a beneficial ownership information report. Now, this basically boils down to who doesn't have to file the report. So sole proprietorships and general partnerships are not required to report business ownership information because they're not registered legal entities. And also there's 23 types of entities that are exempt from the beneficial ownership information reporting requirements as delineated by the finsend.gov website. These exempt entities include publicly traded companies, nonprofits, and certain large operating companies. Now, those companies are subject to other reporting requirements that provide the government with information sufficient for identifying the individuals who own or control them. So it's not like just because they're exempt, they're not going to have other requirements. But for purposes of this presentation, there are a list of 23 types of entities that are exempt from having to file that beneficial ownership information report. And the exempt entities, we've gone ahead and given you a list here. For example, as you can see, banks, credit unions, accounting firms, public utility company, a nonprofit, which is a tax exempt entity, a large operating company, entities assisting a tax exempt company, state licensed insurance producer. So for sure, any type of nursepreneur would not fall into this exemption, and therefore you will likely be considered a reporting company and will have to report that beneficial ownership information on the beneficial owners of that company. Now, when are the reports due? For existing companies, what do we mean by this? An existing company is defined as one that was formed prior to January 1st of 2024. And for an existing company, that existing company must file their beneficial ownership report after January 1st, 2024 and before January 1st, 2025. So if you're an existing company and your corporation or LLC was formed prior to January 1st, 2024, you have until January 1, 2025 to file your initial beneficial ownership information report. Now, keep in mind, the finsend.gov website is very, very backlogged right now. So, we're recommending all of our clients to go ahead and get this report filed as soon as possible, because chances are if you file it a day or two before January 1st, 2025, it's not likely going to be filed on time, and you may be hit with penalties and fines. Now, for a new company, the reporting requirement is different. So what is considered a new company? Any reporting company created or registered on or after January 1st, 2024 must file its initial BOI report within 90 days of its formation. Now, keep in mind, a lot of you may have questions as to, I thought it was 30 days. Well, the initial ruling had stated 30 days, but this was extended as of November 30th of 2023. So the 90-day window begins either when the company receives notice from the state that its registration is effective, or after a Secretary of State or similar office provides public notice of the reporting company's registration, whichever is earlier. However, entities created or registered on or after January 1st, 2025 will continue to have that 30 calendar days to file. However, if your entity was filed after January 1st, 2024, you have 90 days from the filing date of your company being filed with the Secretary of State's office to file your beneficial ownership information report. Now, if you're waiting to form a corporation or LLC and you're forming it on or after January 1st, 2025, you'll have only 30 days to file the beneficial ownership information report after the filing date. So 30 days from that filing date. However, for new companies that have been formed this year, you have 90 days from the date of registration of your corporation or LLC. Now, what are the penalties for not reporting? There are, and the penalties are that a company could face civil penalties of up to $500 per day for each day beyond the report due date if it fails to provide complete and accurate beneficial ownership information on its beneficial owners of that reporting company. Now, the willful failure or attempt to provide false or fraudulent beneficial ownership information could even result in criminal penalties, including imprisonment for up to 2 years and or fine up to $10,000 per incident. Now, what information is required to file? The beneficial ownership reporting requirements are pretty straightforward. The beneficial ownership information report collects the following information about the reporting company and its beneficial owners and the company applicants. So the company information that has to be reported is obviously the entity's full legal name, any fictitious business name or doing business names or trade names that are associated with that corporation or LLC, the principal U.S. business address of that corporation or LLC, the jurisdiction where that corporation or LLC was formed, and of course, the corporation or LLC's tax ID number, also referred to as the ITIN number or the EIN number. Now, beneficial owners and the company applicants information that has to be reported as part of that beneficial ownership information report includes the full legal name of each of the owners of that company, their date of birth, their complete residential street address, personal identification number, and the issuing jurisdiction and image of like a non-expired U.S. passport, state driver's license, other ID document issued by state, local government or tribe, and or a foreign passport. Now, there is something called FinCEN identifiers, and if you've been on the fincen.gov website, you'll see that it'll ask you to apply for a FinCEN identifier. But I just want to make sure you understand this is not a requirement as a prerequisite to file your beneficial ownership information report. If a beneficial owner or a company applicant has obtained a FinCEN identifier, then the reporting company can include that FinCEN identifier in its report instead of other information about the entity or individual. So you're probably wondering, well, what is the FinCEN identifier? A FinCEN identifier is a unique ID number issued to an individual or reporting company upon request, and you can request it directly from the fincen.gov website. Individual may request one through an electronic application directly from fincen.gov. And basically what this is you're pretty much doing all this information beforehand. So by getting a FinCEN identifier, it kind of fast tracks your BOI information report and filing with the FinCEN.gov web, through the FinCEN.gov website. However, this is not a requirement or a prerequisite. So a reporting company can request one by checking a box on its BOI report, but no one is required to get a FinCEN identifier. So let's talk about who is a beneficial owner, because you're probably wondering, well, if my company is a reporting company that qualifies, then what is considered a beneficial owner? So a beneficial owner is any individual who directly or indirectly exercises substantial control over the reporting company, or owns or controls at least 25% of its ownership interests is a beneficial owner. It's possible a beneficial owner could have both substantial control and 25% or more ownership interest. A reporting company can have multiple beneficial owners and must report all of them in its BOI report. So simply stated, a beneficial owner basically is a shareholder of a corporation or a member of an LLC. Minor children, individuals whose ownership interests are held through one or more entities, are considered exempt from the reporting company definition. Now, what is substantial control? Because we talked about in the previous slide that a beneficial owner has to have substantial control to be considered a beneficial owner. So 4 general criteria determine if an individual has substantial control over a reporting company. If an individual meets at least one of these criteria, they're a beneficial owner. For example, the individual has a senior position of authority: president, CFO, CEO, chief operating officer, or general counsel of that corporation or LLC. The individual has the authority to appoint or remove any senior officer or a majority of the board of directors. Or the individual makes or influences important business and financial decisions by the reporting company. And lastly, the individual has some other form of substantial control over the reporting company. What is considered ownership interest for beneficial ownership information? So, as I mentioned to you, any individual who owns or controls 25% or more of ownership interest within that corporation or LLC, i.e. the reporting company, is considered a beneficial owner. So what are the types of ownership interest someone can have? They can have equity, stock, voting rights, capital or profit interest, and as you can see, the list goes on. But for purposes of this presentation, I'm sure most of you may be a corporation or LLC, and if you are, it's basically you as the sole shareholder or sole LLC member having ownership interest within that LLC or corporation. Now, I've gone ahead and presented to you and compiled for you a bunch of what if reporting scenarios. And the reason why we've compiled this in this presentation is because we've been filing these, as a company since January 1st, 2024. And for those of you who are considering having this report filed to prevent late filings, we can take care of it for you through CorpNet for a minimal service fee of $99. And we basically get all the information from you and take the hassle off your plate of having to deal with the government website, and we can do it for you. And as a result of helping other entrepreneurs until today, we have compiled a bunch of questions that hopefully will assist you here. So one of the first questions is, are beneficial ownership information reports listed publicly? And they are not listed publicly. They are for internal use by the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and they are not public. The second question that has come up is, will this beneficial ownership report need to be resubmitted every year, or is a new BOI report only needed when changes are made? A new report would only be required when changes to the beneficial owners are made. So the answer to this question is that once you have filed this beneficial ownership report, you don't need to resubmit it every year. You would only need to submit a new beneficial ownership report if there has been changes to any of the information that was previously submitted. The next question that we have received is, what happens if an exempt company files a beneficial ownership report? Is there a downside to this? And the answer to this is that other than being unnecessary and reducing privacy, there is no real downside. What is the difference between a beneficial owner and a company applicant? So the beneficial owner is anyone with substantial control or who has at least 25% ownership interest in the business, whereas the company applicant is the person who registered the business. Company applicants are only required on beneficial ownership information reports for entities formed on or after January 1, 2024. Another question that has come across as a frequently asked question is, if you have an association like a homeowners association where there's no stock or ownership of the corporation exists, would all board of directors be beneficial owners? And the answer to this is that reporting would be required for anyone who exercises substantial control of the entity or owns/controls more than 25% of the ownership interests within that company. Another question we've received is, if company A is equally owned by corporation B and corporation C. So you got company A and it's equally owned by company B and C, okay? And company B and C are subsequently owned by an individual. Is company A required to file a BOI report, or only corporations B and C? So company A would be required to file a BOI report, and the beneficial owner would be the individual who owns corporations B and C. Beneficial owners are individuals unless the entity is solely owned by an exempt entity. Another question that we often get is, would a husband and wife owned LLC or partnership that is disregarded for tax purposes, i.e. income and expenses are reported on the Schedule C, be considered beneficial owners for BOI reporting purposes? Married spouses are considered separate beneficial owners for purposes of the BOI report, so both would need to be included. And because it's an LLC, it is a legal entity, regardless of its disregarded entity for tax filing purposes. It's still required for the husband and wife to file a beneficial ownership report. Are spouses considered beneficial owners in a community property state where a single member LLC owner is married? No, only the actual person controlling the business operations would be listed on the report. So if you're in a community property space, if you're in a community property state where one of the spouses who's married forms a single member LLC, that person who forms the LLC is only required to make that report, to file that beneficial ownership report. Another question we get is, what happens if an existing reporting company has a change in ownership prior to filing its initial BOI report in late 2024? Does the initial report need to include any information about the owners who sold their interest in early 2024? And the answer to that is that the initial BOI report should be the most current information. If the information changes before the report is filed or has changed, the old information doesn't need to be reported. If the information changes after filing the report, then you would need to amend the report, or a new BOI report has to be filed. Another question we get is, would a public benefit corporation be required to submit a beneficial ownership report? Now, public benefit corporations are typically tax exempt. So if a public benefit corporation has tax exempt approval under Section 501C of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986, they are not required to file a BOI report, as they are and they fall under that list of 23 exemptions. Is a sole proprietorship who files a Schedule C profit and loss from business tax form and is registered with a state required to file a beneficial ownership report? In this case, yes, they would be required to file a beneficial ownership report. And the reason why is because they're registered with the state. Another question we get is a single member LLC that is taxed as a sole proprietorship required to file a beneficial ownership report? Now, I'm sure this would probably apply to many of you. Again, you have to look at the business entity. In this case, it's an LLC, so it's a separate legal entity, even though it's taxed as a sole proprietorship. Therefore, they are required to file a beneficial ownership information report because they are formally registered with the Secretary of State's office as an LLC. What if a business is created as a county registered DBA? Are they required to file a beneficial ownership report? As I mentioned earlier in this presentation, generally speaking, they are not. And no, this type of business is not required to file because typically sole proprietorships are not required to file a beneficial ownership information report.
And hey, Nellie.
Probably doesn't apply to anyone here, but there's a question here about accounting firms and whether they're required to file a beneficial ownership report. So I'm not even going to go through this because it probably doesn't even apply to any of you. Is a single member LLC that provides accounting services exempt from BOI reporting? Again, you know, whether it's accounting services, whether it's nursing services, okay, it really depends on the type of service that you're providing. And in this case, an LLC that provides accounting services is only exempt if it meets the accounting exemption requirement. So you have to check if you meet an exemption requirement, and fall under that exemption requirement. In the case of, you know, nursepreneurs, I don't think that exemption exists. And generally speaking, most of you will need to file a beneficial ownership information report. Are S corporations or companies owned by multiple trusts exempt? S corporations and entities owned by trust are still required to file. And typically, because as I talked to you before, generally an S corporation is not a form of business entity. It's a filing status that's given to a C Corp or an LLC. So a C Corp or an LLC that's elected as corporation status would still be required to file a beneficial ownership information report. What information is required if the owner of a reporting company is another private or public traded company? Again, an individual is required to be listed as a beneficial owner unless that reporting company is owned by an exempt entity. If the owning entity is not exempt, then by default, the individual beneficial owners of that entity would also be the beneficial owners of that company. I don't think any of you have a trust, but does a trust that owns rental properties for multiple beneficiaries have to file? Trusts are generally exempt if they meet the requirements in paragraph 1 or 2 of the Internal Revenue Code, section 4947. Also, there is questions as to what if the beneficial owner is an irrevocable trust? Do you disclose the trust grantor, the trustee, or the beneficiaries of the trust? Again, trusts are exempt if they meet the requirements, as I stated in the previous slide. Now, regarding exemptions, what qualifies as an inactive entity? So, there's a lot of questions as to, well, what if my entity is inactive? Do I still need to file a beneficial ownership information report? What we're talking about here is basically a corporation or LLC that has gone inactive and is not doing business anymore. So an inactive entity is an entity that was in existence on or before 1/1/2024, and I apologize for the typo here, is not engaged in any active business, is not owned by a foreign person, has not experienced any change in ownership in the preceding 12-month period, has not sent or received any funds of more than $1,000 in the prior 12-month period, and does not otherwise hold any kind or type of assets either in the USA or abroad, including ownership in another entity. And in a nutshell, if you're wondering, well, my entity is inactive, okay, just because it's inactive, okay, it doesn't mean that the FinCEN government is not gonna, relieve you of that filing. If it's truly an inactive business entity as a corporation or an LLC, you should definitely file articles of dissolution in order to prevent yourself from filing that beneficial ownership information report. A question comes up regarding address and place of business. So what do we report as our main place of business when all employees work from home and we have no office or main place of business? The location where most business is conducted should be used. It must be a physical address in the US. The other question is, do you need to file a BOI report for an inactive entity in existence before January 1, 2024, but planning to become active during 2024? And the answer to this is that if an entity is formally dissolved with the Secretary of State, a BOI report is not required. If the entity is not formally dissolved and it must meet the inactive company requirements to be exempt. If it does, and a BOI report is not filed, once activity resumes, then you have to file that BOI report, and that BOI report would be required. Now, how do you file a BOI report? Well, you can easily go directly to the fincen.gov website /BOI. And if you're a reporting company, you'll have to report the beneficial ownership information electronically through FinCEN's website at the stated address, www.fincen.gov /BOI. Now, FinCEN will publish instructions and other technical guidance on how to complete the BOI report form via the website, and the system will provide the filer with a confirmation of receipt. Once completed, report is filed with FinCEN. Now, please note that that's one way of doing it, and there are many third-party filing companies out there that can do it for you. Caveat here is that most of these third-party agencies, what we're hearing is that they're not filing it and they're doing a bait and switch tactic and they're collecting information. So you got to be very leery of who you're dealing with, and if it's truly somebody who can assist you with this filing, because there's a lot of private information that is being shared here. So a company like ours, we have all of the certifications and policies and safety guards in place, and it's published on our website, and we can help not only manage the BOI reporting process for you and your clients, but we can also file it for you as well for a very minimal service fee. Now, the way we can support you is, we have a bunch of different types of resources, but when it comes to the BOI specifically, and if you need more assistance in learning about the BOI, you can actually go on our website and you can read all about it. But at the end of the day, if you're needing any assistance with the BOI reporting, we're a filing service that is registered and very equipped to do this filing on behalf of you or anyone you know, and file it for you with the finsend.gov website. And again, the account manager who can assist you with all of these filings that you would need to go to is Marissa Meller at corpnet.com, or you can directly reach us at www.corpnet.com or give us a call. You can also send any inquiries to info@corpnet.com. It's been such a pleasure, and now I'm going to go ahead and open it up to any type of questions that you may have.
Okay, Nellie, that was so much information, such good information, but holy moly, you packed it in. That was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you
You're
so much.
welcome. I know we had really high levels of viewership the whole time, and I mean, it just was so helpful. I'm sure some people feel so much better understanding it. I mean,
I'm so happy.
Yeah,
I'm really happy.
For sure. Thank you.
We are trying to just simplify all of these types of business filings for the end user and the business owner and make it seamless, because, to somebody who doesn't, know this stuff, it can be very scary, So I'm really happy that you found this helpful.
Enormously helpful. And I know our nurses, and they're just gonna, it was amazing. So that is that. I will ask the questions though. We had a couple. Someone asked, I think at some point you said an abbreviation maybe of BOE, but she said, is a BOE the same as a BOI?
It's BOI. BOI stands for Beneficial Ownership Information Report.
Okay, so nothing related to BOEs at anywhere along the way. Okay, great. And then someone else said, and I think you actually, the timing was pretty great, because I think you answered it literally in the next sentence after this question popped through. But just to clarify, she said, my company is registered as an Inc., an INC, so I'm assuming she means as a corporation, with a DBA as an S Corp. Does she need to file?
So again, it would, I can't provide legal, tax, or financial advice, but generally speaking, corporations and LLCs are considered reporting companies, even if they have even if that corporation or LLC is doing business under a fictitious business name. Generally, they would fall under the reporting company requirement, where the beneficial owners would have to file a beneficial ownership information report. Again, now, one thing I want to mention is, if you truly want to know whether you have to file a beneficial ownership information report, go to corpnet.com and take the beneficial ownership information quiz, because we've designed a quiz that takes you through a wizard by asking you a series of questions as to whether your particular company is going to be required to file a beneficial ownership information report. And at the end of that wizard, depending on the answers that you provide the wizard, it will let you know whether you're required to file or not.
Awesome. Thank you. Somebody else, by the way, said, thank you. This was great information. I had not heard anything about this requirement before. So that's huge.
It is my pleasure. This is why I love what I do. And again, we can make this whole process so easy for all of you. Just come to corpnet.com. We've been in business for over 15 years. Again, I said it at the beginning for those of you who joined later, but I've been doing this for over 30 years now. And you definitely want to go with a company who's very trusted within the area, within the industry. And we've been in the industry. We were coined as the pioneers of the industry, and you definitely want to go with somebody who is not going to sell your information, is not going to divulge your privacy rights, and CorpNet will take care of it for you, and we'll make sure not only we handle the process, we make sure the filing is done error-free, and we'll also update you as things come up as far as your entity goes. If there's changes within that entity where you may be required to file an amended report down the line.
Great. Another question came in. She said, Carol said, looking at ordering the report on your website, I have a PLLC. So would I use the LLC or the professional corporation tag?
Whatever. So a PLLC is an LLC for a professional, okay? And what she'll need to do is just place the order as to whatever the entity is. If it's a PLLC, then place it as a PLLC.
Okay, perfect. Someone else said, does CorpNet work with any business entity? Meaning, I think any sort of category of business entities.
Yes, CorpNet is a legal filing service. We work with any type of entity, whether you're a sole proprietor, a partnership, an accountant, a nurse, a physician, like anything you name it, we handle any type of business filing for any type of entrepreneur or professional in any type of industry, and in all 50 states.
Awesome. Carol wanted clarity. She said there's a drop-down menu and PLLC is not an option. I'm wondering if maybe for clarity, maybe she should email that info.
No, actually, I hear what you're saying. So she would pick the LLC option, okay? And then when she gets her order confirmation, she can go ahead and send her order number and an email responding to that confirmation, and she can send it to Marissa Miller. Do you want to just put Marissa's? I'm going to put in here the information for M. Miller.
Perfect.
Okay. And it says private chat, but I'm wondering if everybody's going to see it.
I will copy it. Yeah, for some reason, sometimes people can't post to the group chat, but I just posted it. So Carol, that email just came through for you.
Okay.
And everyone can see that. And then somebody else said so it says, quote, if I registered the business in 2023, however, just started seeing clients January of 24, when should I file BOI? Meaning before,
excellent question. And I love these real world questions because this is how you guys are going to learn. So the company was formed prior to January 1st, 2024, because it was formed in 2023. So based on this presentation, it's considered an existing company. Okay. And if it's an existing company, you have until January 1, 2025 to file your beneficial ownership information report.
Perfect. I put that in writing for you, Ralph, just if you want to copy and paste it from the comments. Awesome. Thank you. What else? So far, that was the last question that rolled in. So we're good for a couple of minutes on time. So if anybody has anything else they want to drop in the chat, please do. We have Nellie, so pick her brain.
Yeah, and if there's no questions, I can, give you a little bit of background on CorpNet. So, if you are any type of a business owner, and if you have an established business like a corporation or an LLC, or if you're in the process of setting up a corporation or LLC, we are the people who you can come to handle registering that corporation or LLC in any of the 50 states. We do it for you at a fraction of a price of what a lawyer or accountant would charge you. And the type of the type of services we offer are very concierge based. So we're typically hand holding you through the entire process and basically answering any questions you may have, because we know that when it comes to filing a business, it's pretty foreign to somebody who's not familiar with all of the different types of business filings. So we are a nationwide company. We do offer our services in all 50 states, and as part of our services, and in addition to all of our startup services, we also provide services when it comes to running your business, growing your business, expanding your business. Let's say, for example, you've hired employees and you want to place those employees on payroll. We can actually go ahead and register those employees on payroll and set up the payroll tax accounts in all 50 states. Let's say you need to amend information for your corporation or LLC. We can go ahead and take care of that. Let's say your corporation or LLC for some reason is out of date and is not in compliance, and we have to reinstate that corporation or LLC. We can go ahead and reinstate that corporation or LLC in all 50 states. For those of you, for example, that are a corporation or LLC right now, there's something called the S corporation deadline that's coming up. It's right around the corner on March 15th. And basically, we can handle that election for you. If, for example, you're a Delaware corporation, those of you that are a Delaware corporation, the Delaware annual report filing requirement is right around the corner on March 1st. We can handle that annual report for you. So we're not only a company that files, we are going to be your business partner for life when you start your business, or if it's an existing business and you've just decided to come and start working with us. Let's say you're an existing business and you want to have CorpNet manage all of the compliance for you. We can take care of that as well. So we're one-stop shop when it comes to any type of business startup, business compliance, business filing, and state tax registration, payroll tax registration filing service in all 50 states.
That's awesome, Nellie. Thank you for that. It looks like we didn't have any more questions roll in, so I think we can wrap it up. That was amazing. For everybody watching, I linked a bunch of times in the comments to CorpNet's website. We have the email for, I'm sorry, tell me the first name of that individual
Marissa
again.
Miller, and I
Marissa.
put her email here, and I am
I put it in there.
Miller at CorpNet.com, and Marissa is phenomenal. Awesome. She is a firecracker, and she will get everything done for you. I'm also putting her direct contact for you as well. And it is 805-309-0591.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to put that in for everybody as soon as it pops up. Oh, sorry. Oh, there it goes. Okay, it popped in. All right, let me put that there for you guys.
Yeah, and if anyone has general questions, you can also just send an email to info@corpnet.com as well.
Okay, great. Let me see here. Awesome. So direct contact info. This is for Marissa Miller. And then let me get in here and do the other info. Awesome. All right. So everybody, that was amazing. Everyone's saying thank you so much. That was super helpful.
Thank you. If you have any questions, you can always follow us on corpnet.com. That's www.corpnet.com. I have my personal social handles. You can follow me on Facebook at Nellie Akalp or Instagram at Nellie Akalp. I'm on Twitter, which is now called X, I guess.
Yeah. Who knows?
But yeah, feel free to connect with me. I'm here. I'm at your service. And it's been such a pleasure to present to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming. Have a good
Bye.
day. Bye.